Commander Zethkalar stared at the display screen with 4 of his 6 eyes while his tentacles worked the control panels. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbited a dead planet on the edge of known space. It was quiet work, mostly watching for asteroids and space pirates. Nothing exciting ever happened out here. The alarm changed that. "Commander," called his assistant, a young Vorthon named Plexani. "We have an unknown signature entering Sector 77 Alpha." Zethkalar's main eyes focused on the new data. A ship had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the outer beacon. The energy pattern was strange, crude, the kind of messy signature that new species made when they first figured out how to bend space. "Probably another baby civilization taking their first steps," he muttered. His species had seen dozens of them over the centuries. Young races always made the same mistakes. Their ships burned too much fuel and left energy trails that could be seen from 3 systems away. "Should I send the standard first contact package?" Plexani asked. "Go ahead. Send it in all the basic languages. Tell them they have entered Galactic Confederation space and need to stop for processing." The first contact package was simple. It contained basic math, peaceful symbols, and instructions on how to surrender their weapons for inspection. Most new species were scared and happy to cooperate. The Confederation had done this thousands of times. But this ship was different. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The unknown vessel did not respond to their messages. It did not stop. It did not even slow down. Instead, it kept moving deeper into Confederation space, heading toward the Kepler sector. "That is odd," Plexani said. "Even the most primitive species usually respond to something." Zethkalar's head tentacles twitched with worry. The Kepler sector was a problem area. 3 different alien races claimed those star systems, and there had been border fights there for decades. A confused new species wandering into that mess could start a war. "Try the emergency frequencies," he ordered. "Maybe their communication system is different." They broadcast on every channel they could think of. Radio waves, quantum signals, even light patterns. The ship ignored them all. It just kept moving through space like it owned the place. "Commander, I am reading something strange about their ship," Plexani said, his voice uncertain. "The energy signature does not match what I am seeing." "What do you mean?" "Well, the faster-than-light signature suggests a very basic drive system. But the ship itself, it is putting out much more power than it should be able to generate." Zethkalar moved to the sensor station and looked at the readings himself. The ship was definitely odd. It looked small on their screens, maybe 300 meters long, but the energy coming from it was enormous. "Like a star in a box. Could be a malfunction," he said. "Maybe their reactor is going to explode. Should we warn them?" "They would have to listen first." The unknown ship continued its path toward the Kepler sector. Zethkalar knew he had to do something. If this ship caused problems in the contested zone, his commanders would blame him for not stopping it. "Send a message to Admiral Seketharian at Kepler Station," he ordered. "Tell him we have an unidentified vessel heading his way, possibly hostile." "Hostile? Commander, it is just one small ship." "One small ship that refuses to follow Confederation law," Zethkalar replied. "And those energy readings worry me. Something is not right." The message went out through the quantum network. Within minutes, Admiral Seketharian responded. The Altarian admiral was known for being careful and thorough. He would handle this properly. "Tell the admiral that the ship appears primitive but has unusual power levels," Zethkalar added, "and that it has ignored all attempts at communication." Hours passed. The unknown ship continued its journey through space. It moved in a straight line, never changing course or speed, like it knew exactly where it was going. "Commander, I have been thinking," Plexani said. "What if this is not a new species? What else could it be? What if it is an old species we have never met? What if they have been hiding?" Zethkalar considered this. The galaxy was huge. There could be civilizations that had developed without the Confederation knowing. But that seemed unlikely. The Confederation had been exploring space for thousands of years. They had found every intelligent species in this part of the galaxy. "Impossible," he said. "We would have detected them. But what if they did not want to be detected?" The question hung in the air like a bad smell. Zethkalar did not want to think about it. A species that could hide from the Confederation's sensors would be very advanced. And very dangerous. "Run a deep scan," he ordered. "I want to know everything about that ship." The deep sensors reached out across space. They probed the unknown vessel with every type of detection beam they had. What they found made no sense. The ship's hull was made of metal. Actual metal, like something from the ancient times. It had visible weapon ports along its sides. Primitive rocket engines, no elegant energy shields or plasma conduits. It looked like something from a museum, but the power readings were off the scale. This cannot be right, Plexani said. A ship that primitive cannot generate this much energy. Unless it is not primitive at all, Zeth Kalar said quietly. Unless it just looks primitive. He stared at the screen for a long time. Something cold was growing in his stomach, a feeling he had never experienced in all his years of peaceful first contacts. Fear. Send another message to Admiral Sectharian, he said. Tell him to bring everything he has, and tell him to be very careful. The unknown ship continued its journey toward the Kepler sector. Behind it, deep space monitoring stations across the Confederation began picking up similar signatures. More ships, all heading in the same direction, all looking primitive, all hiding enormous power. Zeth Kalar realized he was watching the beginning of something terrible, something the galaxy was not prepared for. He just did not know how terrible it would be. Admiral Sectharian floated in his command chair aboard the battlecruiser Stellar Harmony. His blue-scaled body was perfectly adapted for zero gravity, and his large eyes could see in multiple light spectrums. He was considered one of the best admirals in the Confederation Navy. He had handled first contact situations before. They were usually simple. Show up with enough firepower to impress the newcomers, establish communication, and guide them through the proper procedures. Most species were eager to join the galactic community. But this situation felt different. Admiral, we have visual contact with the unknown vessel, reported his tactical officer, Commander Yeltras. The main screen flickered to life, showing the strange ship against the black of space. Sectharian's large eyes studied it carefully. The vessel was unlike anything in the Confederation databases. It was built like a metal brick. The hull was gray and ugly, with no smooth curves or elegant design. Weapon ports dotted its surface like scars. Large engines at the back glowed with primitive fire. It looked like something a child might build from scrap metal. Are we sure this thing can actually fight? Asked Commander Yeltras. It looks like it might fall apart if we sneeze at it. The energy readings say otherwise, Sectharian replied. Stay alert. Around them, 12 other Confederation ships held formation. Fast destroyers, heavy cruisers, and support vessels, more than enough to handle one primitive warship. Have they responded to our hails yet? No, Admiral. Complete silence on all channels. Sectharian's tail fin twitched with annoyance. Every species in the galaxy followed basic communication protocols. Even savage pirates would at least curse at you before attacking. This silence was unsettling. Very well. Signal them with light patterns. Flash our running lights in the standard sequence. The Stellar Harmony's lights began flashing in the universal peace pattern. Other ships in the formation joined in. The light show could be seen across several light minutes of space. The human ship ignored them completely. Admiral, should we try a warning shot? Yeltras suggested. Sometimes primitive species need a demonstration of our superior technology. Not yet. Move us closer. Let them see our ships properly. The Confederation fleet advanced slowly. Their ships were beautiful examples of advanced engineering. Smooth hulls that bent space around them, glowing energy fields that could stop any known weapon, engines that barely produced any visible exhaust. The human ship looked like a savage beast surrounded by elegant dancers. Admiral, we are receiving a signal, the communications officer announced suddenly. Finally. Put it on speakers, a voice filled the bridge. It spoke in perfect Confederation standard, the common language used throughout the galaxy. The voice was calm and clear, belonging to a female of some species they did not recognize. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Indomitable. You are blocking our passage through this system. Sectharian straightened in his chair. The alien knew their language perfectly. That was impossible for a first contact situation. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Sectharian of the Galactic Confederation Navy. You have entered our space without permission. Please prepare to be boarded for standard first contact procedures. There was a pause. Then the human voice spoke again. Admiral, we are not here for first contact. We are here on military business. Please move your ships out of our way. The bridge fell silent. No new species had ever spoken to the Confederation like that. It was either brave or incredibly stupid. Captain Chen, your vessel appears to be alone and outgunned. I have 13 warships. You will comply with Confederation law. Admiral, you should not assume things about my ship based on how it looks. Something about the human's tone made Sectharian's scales itch. She sounded confident. Too confident for someone facing impossible odds. Tactical, give me a full scan of their ship, he ordered quietly. Already running, Admiral. The results are but strange. How strange? Their hull appears to be made of multiple layers. The outer layer looks primitive, but there are at least 6 more layers underneath. And Admiral, their power core is putting out enough energy to run a small space station. Sectharian studied the ugly human ship with new interest. Maybe it was not as primitive as it looked. Captain Chen, what species are you? You are not in our databases. We are humans, Admiral, and we have been watching your Confederation for quite some time. The words hit the bridge like cold water. Watching them? For how long? That is impossible. We would have detected you. You detected us when we wanted you to detect us. The human captain's words carried a terrible implication. If they had been watching without being seen, they were far more advanced than they appeared. Admiral, she is bluffing, Commander Yeltras whispered. One ship cannot threaten our entire formation. But Sectharian was not so sure. The energy readings from the human vessel were enormous. And something about the captain's calm confidence worried him. Captain Chen, I'm going to ask you one more time to prepare for boarding. If you refuse, we will be forced to disable your ship. Admiral, I would not recommend that course of action. Is that a threat? It is friendly advice. Sectharian had enough of this strange conversation. The human was either insane or hiding something dangerous. Either way, he needed to end the standoff. All ships prepare suppression beams. Target their engines and weapons. We will disable them quickly and safely. The Confederation fleet powered up their energy weapons. Bright beams of coherent energy lanced through space, striking the human ship from multiple directions. The weapons were designed to overload enemy systems without causing permanent damage. They should have left the primitive ship floating helplessly in space. Instead, nothing happened. The energy beams hit the human vessel and simply vanished. The ugly metal hull absorbed them like a sponge soaking up water. Warning lights flashed on the human ship for a moment, then went out. What just happened? Sectharian demanded. Admiral, their hull seems to be designed specifically to absorb energy weapons. The tactical officer reported in a stunned voice. Our suppression beams had no effect at all. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Sectharian felt true fear. The human ship had not just survived their attack. It had been built to survive their attack. Captain Chen, how did you know our weapons would not affect your ship? Like I said, Admiral, we have been watching you for quite some time. Captain Sarah Chen sat in the command chair of the UES Indomitable, watching the alien fleet through the main screen. 53 years old, gray starting to show in her black hair, she had spent half her life preparing for this moment. Captain, they look confused, said her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez. Their formation is breaking up. They should be confused, Chen replied calmly. They just learned that everything they know about warfare is wrong. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no excitement, just professional soldiers doing their job. They had trained for this encounter for decades. Captain, we are receiving another transmission from the Confederation Admiral. Put him through. Admiral Sectharian's face appeared on the screen. His blue scales had turned pale and his large eyes showed fear and confusion. Captain Chen, I demand an explanation. How did your ship absorb our weapons? Chen leaned back in her chair. Admiral, your people have had peace for so long that you forgot how to fight real wars. You developed weapons that work perfectly against other people who think like you. Unfortunately for you, humans do not think like you. What do you mean? Your energy weapons are elegant and efficient. They can punch through any energy shield in known space. But Admiral, we do not use energy shields. Chen gestured to her tactical display. Our hull is made of tungsten steel with ceramic layers and ablative armor. Materials your people stopped using thousands of years ago because they seemed primitive. But primitive does not mean ineffective. Sectharian's translator seemed to struggle with some of the human words. You deliberately chose inferior technology? We chose different technology. While your people were perfecting energy weapons, we were perfecting ways to stop them. While you built ships to fight other energy-based civilizations, we built ships to fight you. The alien admiral's face showed growing horror. You planned this. You plan to fight us. Admiral, we plan to defend ourselves. There is a difference. Chen stood up and walked toward the screen. For 53 years, human scout ships have been watching your Confederation. We studied your tactics, your weapons, your ship designs. We learned how you think, how you fight, how you make war. That is impossible. Our sensors would have detected any scouts. Your sensors look for energy signatures like your own. Our scouts were built to be invisible to your technology. Different materials, different engines, different everything. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez looked up from his station. Captain, the alien fleet is powering up heavier weapons. Expected, Chen said. Admiral Sectarian, you are about to make another mistake. Please do not order your ships to use their main weapons. Why should I listen to you? Because, Admiral, we did not just study your defensive weaknesses. We studied your offensive ones too. On the screen, the Confederation ships began to glow as they charged their primary weapon systems. Chen watched with professional interest. The alien ships were beautiful, with sleek lines and elegant engineering. They looked like art pieces floating in space. They were also incredibly vulnerable to kinetic weapons. Admiral, last chance. Order your ships to stand down. Never, all ships full power to main guns. Target that primitive ship and destroy it. Chen sighed. Rodriguez, show them what a real weapon looks like. Aye, Captain. Railgun charging. The Indomitable had been built around its main weapon. The railgun ran the entire length of the ship. A massive magnetic accelerator that could throw a tungsten rod at 20% of light speed. The alien ships had no defense against solid projectiles moving that fast. Firing. The railgun spoke with a voice like thunder. A metal rod, no bigger than a telephone pole, shot out from the human ship at incredible speed. It crossed the distance to the nearest Confederation destroyer in less than a second. The result was catastrophic. The tungsten rod punched through the alien ship like a bullet through paper. The destroyer's elegant hull offered no resistance to the solid projectile. The rod passed completely through the ship and continued into space, leaving behind a hole that vented atmosphere and debris. The destroyer began to spin helplessly, its structure torn apart by the impact. "What have you done?" Sectarian screamed over the communication channel. "I showed you the difference between advanced technology and effective technology," Chen replied. "Your energy shields cannot stop a solid object. Your beautiful hulls are designed to deflect energy, not mass." The other Confederation ships backed away from the crippled destroyer. Their perfect formation dissolved into chaos as captains tried to understand what had just happened. "This is a violation of all civilized rules of warfare," Sectarian protested. "Admiral, those are your rules, not ours. Humans never agreed to fight by Confederation standards." Chen returned to her command chair. "Rodriguez, charge the railgun again, and activate the point defense systems." "Aye, Captain." Around the Indomitable, hidden weapon ports opened to reveal smaller guns. These were designed to shoot down incoming missiles and energy blasts. But they could also target the weak points on enemy ships with surgical precision. "Captain, the Confederation fleet is retreating to a safer distance," Rodriguez reported. "Smart of them." "Admiral Sectarian, are you ready to listen now?" The alien admiral's face had turned almost white. "What do you want?" "I want you to understand something very important. This ship, the Indomitable, is not here to conquer your territory. It is not here to start a war. It is here to deliver a message." "What message?" Chen's expression grew serious. "The message is simple, Admiral. Humanity is no longer hiding. We are announcing our presence to the galaxy, and we are claiming the star systems we need for our expansion. You cannot simply claim territory that belongs to others. Admiral, we are not claiming your territory. We are claiming empty systems that no one else wanted. Dead worlds, asteroid belts, systems without valuable planets, places your people ignored because they had no strategic value." Sectarian looked confused. "Then why the display of force? Why attack my ships?" "Because, Admiral, we needed to make sure the galaxy understands something important. We are not asking permission. We are informing you of what we have already done." Chen gestured to her communications officer. "Send the package." Data began flowing from the Indomitable to the Confederation fleet. Star charts, colony locations, population figures, evidence of a human expansion that had been happening for decades. 53 star systems, Admiral. All of them previously uninhabited. All of them now home to human colonies. We have been building our civilization right under your nose. The alien admiral stared at the data streaming across his screens. "This is impossible." How did we not know? Because we are very good at staying hidden when we want to, Chen said. And because your people never learn to look for enemies who do not fight like you do. Admiral Sectharian stared at the data flowing across his screens. 53 star systems, hundreds of millions of humans, industrial facilities, mining operations, military bases, an entire civilization that had grown in secret while the Confederation looked the other way. This cannot be real, he whispered. Admiral, our long-range sensors are picking up new contacts, his sensor officer reported. Her voice was shaking. Multiple contacts approaching from several directions. How many? Sir, I count over 3,000 ships. The bridge fell silent. 3,000 ships was more than the entire Confederation Navy, and they were all heading toward this system. Captain Chen, Sectharian called out over the communication channel. What are those ships? Those are my friends, Admiral. The Indomitable was never alone. It was just the first to arrive. On the tactical display, red dots began appearing throughout the system. Ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect coordination. They appeared in groups taking positions around planets, asteroid fields, and space stations. My God, Commander Yeltras breathed. They are everywhere. The human ships all look similar to the Indomitable. Ugly metal boxes with visible weapons and primitive-looking engines. But now that the Confederation officers knew what they were looking at, the ships seemed terrifying instead of crude. Captain, I am reading stealth signatures throughout the system, the sensor officer reported. Ships that have been hiding here for hours, maybe days. How is that possible? Sectharian demanded. Our sensors should have detected them. Captain Chen's voice came through the speakers. Admiral, your sensors look for the kind of energy signatures your ships produce. Fusion reactors, plasma conduits, energy shields. Our ships use fission reactors, chemical fuel, and physical armor. We might as well be invisible to your technology. More red dots appeared on the tactical display. The human fleet was massive, far larger than anything the Confederation had ever faced. And they had been hiding in the system for who knows how long. This is an invasion, Sectharian said. No, Admiral. This is a colonization. The Kepler sector contains 17 uninhabited systems. We are claiming them under human law. Those systems are in disputed territory. 3 different Confederation species have claims there. Had claims, Admiral. We are settling the dispute. A new voice came over the communication channel, male, older, with the authority of high command. Admiral Sectharian, this is Fleet Admiral Marcus Webb of the United Earth Navy. I am now assuming command of this operation. On the main screen, Captain Chen stepped aside. An older human male took her place. He wore a uniform covered with medals and insignia. His gray hair and lined face spoke of decades of military experience. Admiral Webb, I demand to know your intentions, Sectharian said. My intentions are simple, Admiral. We are establishing human colonies in systems that no one else wanted. We are not interested in your inhabited worlds or your trade routes. We just want room to grow. And if we refuse to recognize your claims, Fleet Admiral Webb's expression did not change. Then you will learn what it means to fight a species that has been preparing for war for over 50 years. The tactical display updated again. More human ships appeared, these ones much larger. Massive vessels that dwarfed even the biggest Confederation battleships. Their hulls bristled with weapons and armor. Admiral, those ships are enormous, Yeltras whispered. Some of them are over 3 kilometers long. Fleet carriers, Webb explained calmly. Each one carries over 200 fighter craft. We have 12 of them in this system alone. Sectharian felt sick. The Confederation's largest ships were barely 1 kilometer long. These human vessels were floating cities designed for war. How long have you been building this fleet? Since we first detected your radio signals 123 years ago, we knew we would encounter other species eventually. We decided to be ready. You have been planning this for over a century? Admiral, humans are very good at long-term planning, especially when it comes to survival. New alarms sounded on the bridge. Admiral, we are receiving distress calls from Confederation fleets throughout the sector, the communications officer reported. Similar encounters are happening at 15 other locations. The scope of the human operation became clear. This was not one ship delivering a message. This was a coordinated military action across dozens of star systems. The humans had revealed themselves simultaneously throughout the entire region. Fleet Admiral Webb, how many ships do you have? Enough, Admiral Sectarian. More than enough. The human commander gestured off-screen. We are transmitting the Terran Colonial Charter to your government. It details our territorial claims and our rules of engagement. We suggest your leaders read it carefully. And if the Confederation rejects your charter, then there will be war, Admiral. A type of war your people have never experienced. Sectarian looked at his tactical display. The human fleet filled the entire system. Thousands of warships, all built for brutal primitive combat, all crewed by a species that had spent over a century preparing to fight. What makes you think you can defeat the entire Confederation? Admiral, we do not want to defeat the Confederation. We want to coexist with it, but if you force us to choose between coexistence and survival, we will choose survival, and we will be very good at it. Fleet Admiral Webb leaned forward. Your people fight elegant wars with rules and honor. You target military installations and avoid civilian casualties. You use minimum force and seek quick diplomatic solutions. That is how civilized beings conduct warfare. Admiral, we are not civilized in the way you understand the term. We are survivors. When humans fight, we fight to win completely. We target everything that helps our enemies fight. We use maximum force and seek total victory, and we do not stop until our enemies cannot fight anymore. The bridge fell silent. The human's words carried a terrible certainty. This was not a bluff or a negotiation tactic. This was a simple statement of fact. You are threatening genocide, Sectarian said quietly. No, Admiral. We are threatening to defend ourselves using methods your people abandoned long ago. The choice of whether that becomes necessary is entirely yours. The Galactic Confederation Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species argued, shouted, and demanded answers. The elegant crystal walls echoed with voices in dozens of languages. High Counselor Veth Morin, an ancient being whose species had helped found the Confederation, called for order. Her crystalline body glowed with authority as she spoke. Silence. We must address this crisis with wisdom, not panic. The arguing stopped, but the fear remained. Reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy. Human fleets had appeared in over 200 systems, all following the same pattern, all delivering the same message. Defense Minister Caltheron, what is our military assessment? The defense minister was a proud warrior from a species that had never lost a battle. Now he looked defeated before the fighting had even begun. High Counselor, the situation is worse than we initially thought. Our intelligence services have confirmed human presence in over 400 star systems. They have been building their civilization in secret for decades. Murmurs of disbelief filled the chamber. 400 systems was larger than some Confederation member nations. How did we not detect this expansion? High Counselor, the humans chose systems we considered worthless. Dead worlds, asteroid belts, gas giants with no habitable moons, places we never bothered to patrol or survey properly. Admiral Sectarian stood in the witness section. His blue scales had not returned to their normal color since the encounter with the human fleet. When called upon, he walked slowly to the center of the chamber. Admiral, tell the council what you experienced. Sectarian's voice was quiet but clear. High Counselor, we encountered a completely different approach to warfare. The humans did not build ships to fight by our rules. They built ships to fight against our rules. Explain. Our weapons are designed to penetrate energy shields and disrupt electronic systems. The human ships have no energy shields and minimal electronics. Our ships are built for speed and elegance. Their ships are built to absorb damage and keep fighting. Counselor Zixandra, representing the Peaceful Botanical Alliance, spoke up. Surely we can negotiate. No species wants war. Counselor, I do not believe the humans want war either, but they have prepared for it in ways we cannot match. What do you mean? Admiral Sectarian activated a holographic display, showing the human ship he had encountered. This vessel, the Indomitable, destroyed one of our destroyers with a single shot. A solid metal rod traveling at 20% of light speed. No energy weapon, no exotic technology. Just mass and velocity. The chamber fell silent. Such weapons were considered primitive by galactic standards. But primitive did not mean ineffective. They have spent over 50 years studying our weaknesses while we remained ignorant of their existence. Every aspect of their military is designed to counter our advantages. Defense Minister Caltheron activated his own display. Intelligence reports suggest the humans have been capturing our technology for decades. Not to copy it, but to learn how to defeat it. How is that possible? Crashes, lost scouts, abandoned equipment. Things we wrote off as accidents. They were collecting samples and studying everything we discarded. High Counselor Vethamoran's crystalline body dimmed with worry. What are their demands? They call it the Terran Colonial Charter. They claim over 400 star systems as human territory. They demand recognition as a sovereign power with full rights to those systems. And if we refuse, then they will defend their claims with force. Counselor Plextai from the Trader Federation spoke up. 400 systems is not that much compared to the entire galaxy. Perhaps we should consider their terms. You suggest we surrender to threats? Demanded War Marshal Ketboros. I suggest we avoid a war we cannot win. The chamber erupted in arguments again. Some species called for immediate military action. Others urged negotiation. A few suggested abandoning the contested regions entirely. High Counselor Vethamoran called for another vote of silence. Admiral Sectharian, in your professional opinion, can we defeat the humans in battle? The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. High Counselor, our fleets are larger in total numbers. Our technology is more advanced in many areas, but the humans have advantages we do not. Such as unity of command. Every human ship follows the same doctrine, uses the same tactics, serves the same government. We have dozens of different species with different military traditions trying to work together. He paused, gathering his thoughts. They have been preparing specifically to fight us. We have been preparing to keep peace among ourselves. They built weapons designed to kill our ships. We built ships designed to impress other Confederation members. And, High Counselor, the humans think like predators. We think like diplomats. In a war, predators have advantages. The chamber fell silent again. The implications were clear. The Confederation had grown soft during centuries of peace. The humans had grown hard during decades of preparation. There is something else, Admiral Sectharian continued. The humans I spoke with showed no fear of death. They were prepared to fight against impossible odds without hesitation. That kind of dedication is disturbing. Defense Minister Caltheron nodded grimly. Our psychological profiles suggest humans have an unusual relationship with sacrifice. They are willing to accept massive casualties to achieve their goals. While we seek to minimize losses on both sides, added Counselor Vethamoran. Another disadvantage in a total war. The debate continued for hours. Military leaders warned of human advantages. Diplomats urged negotiation. Economists calculated the cost of war versus the cost of recognition. Finally, High Counselor Vethamoran called for a preliminary vote, all in favor of recognizing the Terran Colonial Charter and accepting human territorial claims. The vote was close. Many species feared setting a precedent for territorial expansion through force, but more feared the alternative. The motion passes. We will open negotiations with the human government. But even as the Council voted for peace, reports continued to arrive from the border regions. Human fleets were not waiting for negotiations. They were establishing defensive positions around their claimed territories, building space stations, deploying military assets. The humans had revealed themselves to the galaxy, but they had done so from a position of overwhelming strength, prepared for any response. They had turned first contact into a strategic advantage. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson about the difference between advanced civilization and effective military power. The humans might not have the most elegant technology or the most beautiful ships, but they had what mattered most in a dangerous universe: the will to fight for their survival and the tools to make that fight successful. The age of easy expansion and gentle diplomacy was ending. The age of human space had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.